you doing, wrestling fans? And welcome to another edition of John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight Podcast, the only wrestling podcast that brings you back 30 years with vintage audio featuring some of the biggest names of that time. And as I say almost every week, this week is no exception. The Pro Wrestling Spotlight covered all the news stories and breaking developments that happened in real time, and now we get to relive that history and those moments right here on this podcast. Today, we will review the April 24th, 1993 Pro Wrestling This Week program, which aired on 1440 WNYG in Babylon, New York. And we also cover the Pro Wrestling Spotlight from the same day on WEVD in New York City with special in-studio guest Paul E. Dangerously. And we have on the phone on the evening show, Mr. Dave Meltzer, and there's a lot of hilarity in this one. I want to remind everybody that patreon.com/John Arezzi is the place to go to hear all of these shows unedited in their original version. Over 200 shows are up there right now. We also put up vintage audio and vintage video and opportunities like one of our executive producers are joining us for this show. So $5 a month gets you in the door, but all the other levels that you have to choose from depends on how deep you want to get into the archives and if you do want those opportunities to be special guest on this program. So go to patreon.com/John Arezzi. Also, an announcement, this coming Saturday, May the 6th, I will be at 80s WrestleCon. That takes place at the Men in Sports Arena in Morristown, New Jersey, promoted by Tommy Fierro. The doors will open at 11 a.m. That's this Saturday, May the 6th, and I'll be there signing Matt Memories, my book. I'll be there with some caps and T-shirts and posters, and I really would love you to stop by and say hello. So why don't you come out to 80s Wrestling Con at the Men in Sports Arena. That is this Saturday, May the 6th. And the big names there, Bret the Hitman Hart, Dory Funk Jr., Wendy Richter, Powers of Pain. There are karaoke contests. And Tommy always really super serves when he does these conventions. There'll be a lot of extras there. And then he has an evening show as well with ISPW Pro Wrestling. For more information, go to 80swrestlingcon.com. That's 80swrestlingcon.com for all the information you need about this week's upcoming convention. It's going to be a lot of fun. Right now, I want to bring on Marsh, our producer, our creative director, our guru when it comes to the YouTube channel and pulling the clips. And there's just so much that this guy does. So, Marsh, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing good. Feeling a lot better.
Yeah, you sound better.
Yeah. I feel like popcorn cured me.
Took a month.
Yeah. Just a month. Yeah.
Popcorn cured you?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
There's this weird thing where, like, after I was sick, my throat was still bothering me a lot, and it just felt like something was stuck in my throat. And I was like, well, it's probably just swollen, right? Well, I had a whole bunch of popcorn, and that feeling went completely away. And then,
kidding.
Yeah, I think that there was something stuck, and that...
And I got it down there.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
So I was like, all right, popcorn did it.
I tell you what I did. It was probably about a year ago. You see this? I have a water bottle here, right? A little homemade iced tea. There's a little plastic thing that's on the top of the cap. There's a little plastic thing.
Little ring.
So it came off or whatever, and I put it in I'm an old man, so I put it in this little shot glass for whatever reason that I take my pills at night, and I forgot to take it out of there. I don't know why I even put it in there, and I gulped and swallowed this little plastic ring that got stuck in my throat. And it wasn't big enough to kill me or choke me to death, but it was certainly an inconvenience. I went to the doctor the next day, and he goes, well, it'll go down eventually, and, then it'll be removed. We don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
But pass. I can understand. But maybe you did have a little something in there. The popcorn certainly helped move it through the system.
Yeah, I think it was like a hair or something, because it was like, after eating a bunch of popcorn, immediately it was crazy.
Hey, listen, I got to tip my cap. Medusa last week was a really good episode.
That was
A lot
cool.
of comments on that. Of course, the Sunny Blaze stuff before that. I mean, people have really been enjoying it, and we're noticing a big uptick in the YouTube views on the YouTube channel. I think we're close to 1,500 subscribers now.
Yeah, that's been
So,
going up. The hours watched has been since we started shifting around a little bit. Our hours watched have already doubled, and they're just going more. So
yeah, I'm looking at all the history of the views, and they are going up exponentially. And I think back at the first of the year, we might have been a little over 1,000 subscribers. So we've increased it by 50% in the first 4 months of the year. So
Yeah.
go to youtube.com/pro wrestling spotlight, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it. We're a niche show, as they say, but the history that we cover 30 years after it happened, a lot of people are really digging it. And one of those guys who's digging it is one of our executive producers, Joseph Holloway, who's going to join us for today's episode. So let's bring Joseph on. Joseph, how you doing?
Doing great, guys. Thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be back. It's beautiful here today. I don't know how it is there, but awesome. Awesome. The spring's finally here.
Yeah, we have about 65, close to 70, a little over 70 degrees, actually. I got home a little while ago, so it is nice, but it's going to rain the next few days. But Joseph, you were telling me that, I didn't realize how much of a traveler you are. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I get getting ready. As soon as this is over, I got a group over here waiting to go to the NFL draft. So we're heading out to Kansas City as soon as I'm done with the podcast. And we're going to head there and hopefully next week get out to 80s Wrestling Con.
That would be awesome. It'd be great to meet you in person. But today we have an interesting one. We're going back 30 years to the April 24th show, the morning and the evening show. And there's a lot of hilarity. This was a tough one, Marsh, for you to pull clips from because there was so much there, especially with Paul E.
Yeah, Paul E on the second episode with Meltzer. Paul was in studio, so he was just... There's no shutting him up.
He was on. He was on for sure.
Yeah. So it was kind of like I'm going through marking like my clips and stuff as I listen to the morning show. And then I start listening to the evening show and I was like, it's going to get a lot more lopsided real quick here. And so very limited on the morning show clips. So we could really go heavy with the evening show clips.
Yeah, I think we focused a lot on the Cactus Jack stuff.
Yeah.
Because that was a serious injury and we get people are really commenting on Twitter, and when they share videos of what actually happened, like that was looking at it again on Twitter. It was brutal.
Yeah. There's a guy on Twitter. I want to say it's on like OTD, like on this day in wrestling.
Yes, they actually do quite a bit of repost for us, and it's called On This Day. I'm gonna give the guy a plug. It's at OTD_IN_WWE on this day in WWE. And he pulls clips. He puts them up there. He's got a lot of followers, 42,000 plus. But he really has been helping promote the podcast. And anybody who's out there who does that type of promotion for us and thinks the show is unique, which it is, I really have to thank them for that.
Yeah, I thought it was really cool because I've been following him for a little bit, or at least keeping track of him. And I noticed that like a lot of times we'll talk about a thing and the video pops up and I go, oh, what are the odds, right? 30 years ago. And it's like, well, the odds are that person's going back 30 years. So are we. And after a while, I was like, no, I think this guy, like he posted a clip from our thing and it made me realize there's probably times we're talking about stuff and he goes, oh, I got to see that. And then digs it up.
A lot of people do that. I mean, because now we're talking about this history from 30 years ago, and people want to see it. Like the Medusa crossbody off the top onto Michael PSA's. Somebody posted that.
Yeah.
Over the last week.
Yeah, it's really cool. I love to see stuff like that.
Yeah, people are digging it. So, the slow build that we've had, and it's, like I say, it's a niche audience, whatever it is. But it's really fascinating to go back 30 years like this episode is going to be. So we welcome Joseph, of course. Appreciate him. We're going to have some fun with the show today.
It's a great show.
Did you already listen to the originals?
Yeah, I did. And actually, I went back and on Peacock and watched the 2 weeks, the 2 matches going into it. And, I remembered from 93, I was pretty young and I remembered the powerbomb, but I remembered it differently. And I thought, and I wanted to ask you, John, so it was obviously a work going into it that turned into a serious injury because WCW didn't have their shit together to get all that right.
No.
Just in time.
No, he took when you get slammed, and he's beat up as it is. I mean, with this feud with Vader, it was knocking the shit out of him. And then in this match, when, Harley takes the mats and moves them, and he does that power bomb onto that cement.
And
no matter if it's from a foot off the ground or 2 feet or 5 feet or 6 feet, that can do some damage.
And what I didn't realize was it wasn't really a power bomb. He just dropped him. Like there was no cushion there at all. He just dropped him on his head.
Splat.
Yes. And, it's just ridiculous when you go back and you look at it from, we talk about it back then and listening to the show about how brutal that match was. And then look at where we are today and just how far it's advanced. And I just wonder if WCW had stayed on that track, where they would have been, because they went from this angle that could have been really good to the whole Lost in Cleveland angle that was ridiculous. I mean, in that whole thing that they did with Cactus was crazy.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah,
and I know he wasn't a fan of that either.
No, it's just the whole part with him during that time. So what I'm still confused by going back, and John, you have the insight on this. In the house show in New York, you guys talked about it at length last week, how they just blew it. They have him get pinned by Rick Rude and then come back and try to build him as the guy that's going to take on the team. It just made no sense at all, no direction whatsoever.
The booking rarely did back then with WCW.
But Cactus had to be so damn frustrated. Mick had to be so frustrated.
Yeah, we get him back, at least as far as the shows from the past. He comes on the 5/8/93 show. So I mean, hopefully we'll get some answers there. Because I don't listen to these things in advance. So I put them up a week before, and we'll see. It should be fascinating. We got a lot of great guests coming up, and we'll start this one off. Marsh, why don't we go back 30 years and get this this piece of history started?
Yeah, we're going to start off with Don Laible. The way I structured this clip, I start off with your intro leading into the capsule as well, because this is where you really get in with Donnie about the condition of Cactus and what's going on with him, and then we do the capsule instead of a lot of times the reverse where I take the after talk. I did the pre-talk. So
excellent.
On that note, we will go to Don Laible, who will bring us our news capsule today. And let's see if we can bring Donnie on now. Donnie, you there?
Good morning, John. Yes, I am.
Yes, I don't know if you heard the top of the show, but we are checking on the condition of Cactus Jack right now, who unfortunately wrestled Van Vader again in a rematch. You don't get TBS where you are, right?
Unfortunately, no.
Because last week they did air that match where Vader and Cactus had that big brawl, that brutal brawl where Cactus had broken his nose and got several stitches in his face. But they had the rematch this past Wednesday. Cactus was power-bombed outside the ring by Vader. And this was on the cement.
Ooh.
And he, from what I understand, had lost feeling in his one of his legs and his hands. And we're trying to now determine how serious the injury is with him. So we're going to be checking on that during this program.
I hope everything's okay with Cactus. He's certainly
well, it's he's out of the hospital, and his feeling, from what I understand, has returned. We're going to try to reach him. He is at home to talk about the situation. But that is you know that Joe Thurman, the guy that was in WCW, had his back broke by Vader with one of those power bombs, and that was inside the ring on a mat. When I spoke to Cactus briefly, he said, well, he was powerbombed before outside the ring, previously by Terry Gordy in a match in Global Wrestling Federation. and he said being powerbombed by Terry Gordy and Van Vader are two totally different things.
And also, if you remember, Sting had suffered an injury too as well from within the ring, supposedly when he had the power bomb.
Oh, and Nikita Koloff also. That's why Nikita's injuries are still so severe. He can't re-enter the ring. Vader's just a rough guy.
Maybe we should have a disabled list, 21 day or something like that.
The Vader disabled list, and this is a legitimate deal. This is not part of a wrestling angle.
That's something.
So it's
Steve Williams. That's what we
So what's going on in the news?
Well, somewhat of a slow news week, but good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Capsule. Another disturbing story is coming out of Texas surrounding the Von Erich family. Published reports claim that Kevin Von Erich held up Gray Pearson, promoter of the April 2nd benefit show for the late Kerry Von Erich's two daughters, for $1,000 cash before the show at the Sportatorium. Now, all wrestlers who appeared on the lineup agreed to work for free, with the proceeds of the gate going to a trust fund. Pearson agreed to reimburse any of the participants for canceling any prior engagements for that date. Kevin claimed he had a booking on April 2nd in Birmingham, Alabama, and thus far no record of such a show has been found. World Championship Wrestling drew 5,000 fans, a half a house in Toronto, Canada last Sunday in the Sky Tent, a small arena adjacent to the Sky Dome, similar to the Paramount with Madison Square Garden. Now, Dustin Rhodes and Cactus Jack defeated Rick Rude and Paul Orndorff in the main event. Well, a couple title changes to report. First, in the United States Wrestling Association, the Moondogs had their tag belts lifted away by Simply Divine, that being Rex King and Steve Dahl in Memphis. And last weekend, on Sunday to be exact, in Barberville, Kentucky, Brian Lee won the Smoky Mountain Wrestling TV title from Bobby Eaton. Road Warrior Hawk went to a wild double countout with Terry Funk last Saturday before an estimated 750 people in Minneapolis on a show promoted by Dennis Carluzzo. Finally, this week in pro wrestling, 10 years ago, it was on April 25th, 1983 in Madison Square Garden that Eddie Gilbert won the opener over Jose Estrada. In Columbia, South Carolina, Ric Flair won by DQ over Jimmy Valiant. And in Kyoto, Japan, it was Terry and Dory Funk. They went to a double countout with Harley Race and Tenryu. For Pro Wrestling This Week, I'm Don Laible reporting. Capsule time, 10:08.
Interesting stuff there, especially when he talked about the benefit show for Von Erich's kids and his own brother holding up a promoter for $1,000.
Yeah.
Kevin didn't talk about that on this podcast, did he?
No, it did not come up.
It did not.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I just I listened to that and I was like, wow. I mean, that's a damn shame. It's pretty surprising to hear it, and that's why you listen to this, because it's just a completely different take on the history. 30 years later, you hear that and you're like, it really changes my opinion of Kevin.
Well, at the time, I mean, it's been 30 years removed.
Right.
Yeah. And, is it really, like, it would be nice to get his take on that now, but it's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But again,
I mean,
sorry.
And how much of it was he being held up versus maybe there was an agreement with him not trusting the promoter guy or wanted to have some sort of, like, I mean, what was that money for? Even like if because you go into a little bit more in depth on the second one, but I wanted to pull the first clip because I like starting with Donnie.
Mm-hmm.
That there was like no one there was getting paid, right? And someone was like reimbursing some of the guys who would have lost money if they were already booked on a show, but Kevin was not previously booked on the show. But if all the money was going to a specific fund, I mean, there's like benefit of the doubt. Maybe he wanted to have 1,000 up front to make sure they weren't going to get chipped out of nothing, ripped
You
off.
never know, right? There could be motives for it. There could be a misunderstanding. What do you're hearing stuff that that's the rumor mill, and how much of it is true? What's the whole story? You don't really ever know. It's just up for speculation. But that kind of surprised me when I heard that back.
Oh yeah.
Donnie's again. Where does Don get this? I mean, it's amazing back
Everywhere.
then. His connections. It's amazing.
Yeah. I know people, baby. That's what he would say.
Love it.
He's very aggressive when he's looking for the facts.
Which is also crazy and cool to think about too, because his demeanor is not that of aggressive.
No, and he's that way too today. When he's got to do something.
Yeah. Let's see. We only pulled a couple of clips from this episode, though. The morning show, like you said, was a lot about Cactus, the condition of Cactus. One thing you guys mentioned at the same time, Bruce Pritchard popped back up on TV as the Wizard, and he was predicting what was going to happen in the matches. And you guys were not happy about that.
No, that was a ridiculous, short-lived character.
Yeah. The Totally reports continue. You guys did speculate that you're starting to already see a Jim Ross influence in the WWF, saying that the King of the Ring tournament felt like a Jim Ross creation because it felt a lot like the U.S. Tag Belt tournament that was it the USWA, I think, had done a couple years prior.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Do we know for a fact that Jim Ross was the creator of King of the Ring?
No, we do not.
I'm sure someone said it somewhere. I don't know.
Certainly, if he was solely, we would have heard in one of the books or
He
project.
might have put his fingerprints on it
Yeah,
a little bit.
he tends to do that from time to time.
He certainly does.
Yeah. Or he could have said something to the right guy in the right ear at the right time. Yeah.
Right.
You continue that the two executives who resigned, that rumor still not yet been confirmed. So that's why you're still not saying any names.
Can you 30 years later?
I don't remember them.
So that was what I was hoping to get the answer to.
Yeah. I was kind of racking my brain about it too. I was like, well, who are those two guys? Who are they? And I just couldn't
It's funny.
pinpoint it. And it could be revealed on future shows, but like I said, I don't put them up there until
Right.
I upload them, and I want to be surprised.
Yeah, I'm hoping it comes out too, because I feel like that this was during the trial. It was likely something to do with that, but at the same time, you guys were not you jumped on it when all the other ones were going on, all the resignations. So something about this felt like you're really tiptoeing.
I had to, because of where I was, because of the always the possibility of a legal letter being sent to EBD. I just really was being much more careful in what I talked about.
Yeah, which is good. It's why you had credibility. You didn't say it unless you knew it, So, you guys talk about Eddie Gilbert moving to Philadelphia this weekend. You said he's very committed to ECW and what that's going to be, but this is still when it's Eastern, not when it's Extreme.
Right.
And then you're talking about how you're going to try and get some big guests. You want to get Bruno on and an old rival like Nikolai Volkov and just let him go at it. So,
yeah, producer Bruce Jacobs had that idea.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever fulfilled it. I don't know.
Well, we know he didn't for the next couple weeks.
Right.
That's not on the tape.
Right.
But James from Seaford walks in during your L&L spot.
Yeah.
That made me laugh.
Yeah, he just strolled in like he did. Now it was becoming a common occurrence. Now he's just showing up. And he's always fidgety. I think I told him to sit down or something because he was just, just like hovering. He's very nervous all the time. I don't know if you guys remember Rodney Dangerfield.
Of course.
Yeah.
And how fidgety he was when he did he was always moving around, fixing his tie. And James was, like a very thin guy.
Yeah.
But he was chain smoking. He was always, who knows what he was doing, but he was always moving.
Constantly adjusting.
Constantly moving.
Yeah. Now I'm a big Rodney Dangerfield fan. Dr. Vinny Bubats was played by Andy Kaufman in one of his specials. And so.
Yeah. We loved Rodney.
Yeah.
Nails, you mentioned, is going to be called The Convict moving forward, which is good. That comes into play later as a joke. And you said that you're still hearing a lot of flack and disappointment about the WCW show, and that you heard that the New York State Athletic Commission reached out to Henry to tell him that WCW launched a formal complaint against him for being on your show.
Yes. Yeah, I got in hot water over that. Because Henry, I hired to go overseas with me too, so we were developing a friendship. And he said, "Listen, I got to let you know, WCW was really pissed that I came on the show, and they filed a complaint with New York State Athletic Commission." I was like, "Whoa, wow,
how petty!"
Wow. Well, that's how you know it was true. They didn't want to. They were trying to push the heat off.
Yeah,
and he was like, "No, it wasn't me."
Right. It was whatever the decision was. They made it. and Henry had to abide by it when he came out and when Nick Patrick came out and stopped the match.
And what he said was so obvious once he said it. When he goes, if it was us, it would have been one of us. It wouldn't have been a WCW ref.
That's exactly right. If the New York State Athletic Commission judges, the people at ringside, those management people, if they wanted to stop something, they have the power to do it.
Yeah, and they would have. So
and WCW stopped this thing. So yeah, that's kind of a little controversial. That was in the Benoit Simmons match. Yeah.
Yeah. You do list that you're trying to get a bunch of guests on the show and no one's home. Dennis Corluzzo, Cactus, Lightning Kid, Eddie Gilbert. No one's answering you, so you just keep going.
We were trying.
Eddie's guest, you going to call him back or her back? It was funny.
Yeah. I wonder why Cactus took a couple weeks to come on. I wonder if he was
fucked up.
Yeah. So
he
before
was actually doing well, and he lived at that time. He lived very close to me, same town.
Before coming on, I went back and just looked at some clips from that time afterwards, just interviews he's done, and he said it was about a week before he could drive, but he still left his vehicle there at the arena. But he said it took him a couple weeks before he got over the concussion, and then it was a couple more before he could, just really get around. So when you're trying to call him, I'm certain.
Yeah, I mean, I would have certainly mentioned that I had talked to him if I was really able to get a hold of him. But the fact of the matter is, if he wasn't returning my calls, and it could have been just kind of, there was no texting back then either. So he might have been just in a bad way.
You did say you got a hold of him. That's how you knew about his hand situation, hospital situation. He was better. But I bet you that when you called to see about him coming on the show,
he wasn't up to it.
Was likely having a migraine or something, or just wasn't feeling right.
Yeah.
You talk about the show in Minneapolis that was promoted by Dennis Corluzzo. Two of the big matches you talked about that were big then, even at the time, was Terry Funk and Hawk and Lightning Kid versus Sabu in their first encounter. And I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Then we get to the callers. I pulled a couple callers. But your first caller was Steve from Fresh Meadows, who asked you who the priest was, and you mentioned Friar Ferguson, who was originally Norman the Lunatic, and how he was originally called the Mad Monk. And you said that you don't like it right now, but maybe it'll grow on you. And I was wondering if you were already thinking about Doink.
Yeah.
There was no comparison with Doink and Norman, a.k.a. Friar Ferguson. It was a disgust. And then he became Bastion Booger, right?
Oh, yeah.
It was horrible, this guy. I mean, it was just like nice guy and all of it. Very close friends with Donnie Laible. Donnie and he had a good friendship. Yeah. But what they were doing to him was just embarrassing. And I think they did it on purpose. I think McMahon hates fat guys.
Yeah, I believe on Bruce's podcast, he talked about how he got the name Booger and all was just because Vince just thought he was so disgusting.
Right. Vince thought he was very disgusting. Right. Exactly.
It's awful. But Steve from Fresh Meadows says he wants to help you with your convention and was trying to help you with the convention. You said it's a one-man show and things get lost in the shuffle, and he wants to get you on WFAN.
But who is this guy? Who is he?
Yeah. I was just going to ask, do you remember this guy at all?
No, I don't remember at all.
Damn it, John, you didn't call him back.
Yeah. If only you had.
He was heartbroken.
Like, what am I supposed to do? I mean, you want to come, but it would be a volunteer. Come out and be a volunteer. You going to get me on freaking WFAN?
Go ahead.
Good luck with that.
You had Mickey B on for about 3 seconds to just plug his show because he'd happened to walk in. But then we get to Tim from Ocean, New Jersey. And this I felt like was a pretty good encompassing feeling of the Cactus Jack overall theme here.
Yeah.
And then you also follow it up with talking about how what I thought was relevant because I talked to you about it even like last week about how you were really slamming WCW and WWF at the same time, which was a stark difference from when a couple years prior we were talking about how it was the best thing on. You actually addressed that in this. And so I was like, okay.
Let's check that out.
From Tim from Ocean, New Jersey. Tim, you're next.
Hey, John.
Hey, Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm fine, thanks.
What's going on?
I just happened to be up earlier this morning, and for the first time in, 6 months minimum, I happened to turn on the Power Hour. this has got to be now the worst show on God's green earth.
I haven't seen a Power Hour probably in close to a year.
Well, I had heard you, I don't know, a week or two ago talking about Eric Bischoff calling matches.
Yeah.
He calls the whole show now.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he and
that must be doing
Zbyszko.
It's doing wondrous things for the ratings, I would guess.
So it was. I turned it on, and I was actually just kept it on because I was waiting for see if Flair was going to come on an interview or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I opted to wash the dishes instead.
There you go. That's what's happening right now in WCW. You have a hardcore wrestling fan who loves pro wrestling, turning on the Power Hour, and deciding then to go wash the dishes. What does that tell you?
It was horrible. I mean, they had Arn Anderson. The first match had Arn Anderson, and I don't even remember the guy's name. And Arn did the thing where he splits the guy's legs and he falls down on one of them and kind of wrapped it around his body. And the guy Bischoff caught it figure 4.
Oh, very good. He went to the Missy Hyatt School of Wrestling Holds and Broadcasting.
So between going to the card at the Paramount and then seeing this, besides Cactus's match, which they're pushing big time.
They're pushing the rematch?
Oh yeah.
Oh, why not? See a guy get his neck broke. Sure, that's good for ratings.
So that's they're pushing. They showed that I think Teddy Long took Missy's place on the Power Hour, and so they have him doing the same thing Missy was doing, and they showed highlights of that match.
Yeah.
And then that's all they're talking about is pushing that match.
Yeah. Well, I would hate. I've been hearing things from people about Cactus' situation with WCW. Now, I would hate to predict here at this program about Cactus's demise from WCW because of this. And I've heard that from a couple insiders over the last 24 hours.
I mean, I know Cactus has a hard time getting along with Ole, and I know that he really wants to be there.
Yeah, he does.
But sacrificing your body for the sake of staying with the company, that's slowly going down the toilet and having to wrestle now in high school auditoriums. It's, I hardly see it's worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many independent shows going on now.
Hey, if I was Cactus Jack, I would rest up now. He's injured. I would really rest up for 3, 4, 5 months, whatever. And I would leave that company. I'd go to, he has many options open to him.
Right.
And he would command large dollars on the independent market right now, and he'd only have to work a couple times a week. That's when Cactus, in my opinion, was at his best, and he loves WCW. He wants to remain there. I've known Cactus for a long time, and I just think that he's being not used correctly in that company. And when you have to go out there and prove yourself to the company by putting your body out on the line, like you say, and causing yourself permanent injury, what does that say about the company?
Yeah.
Are they using you to get ratings? What are they doing?
They're just using them, period.
Yeah. Good point, Tim, that you're bringing up here. All right, listen,
okay.
We'll talk to you real soon.
All right, John.
Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
661-1440, a very, I'd say like a personal topic to me. Even with WCW, I've been getting some letters from fans saying, you used to love WCW, and now you're doing nothing but blasting them on the air. I'm not kissing anybody's butt. I will call it as I see it, and, so when you start criticizing a company like I started criticizing WCW a little bit, then they all of a sudden pull plugs on guests for you. But I don't really care no more. If they want to cooperate with me, if they want to provide guests, if they want to do a ticket giveaway, that's up to them. But I am not going to go out of my way to kiss anybody's butt for a guest. Hear me? That's right, Bruce.
He was a little feisty.
Yeah. You hear me?
I know there's probably a secondary reason. I was in the middle of putting together a AAA deal. I was putting together an overseas tour. I was getting involved in a lot of stuff. And I knew that I'd be able to get guests on just based on those two relationships. So if WCW wasn't going to cooperate, everybody that I was booking for my tour and everybody that was involved in the AAA stuff, I'd be able to get, robust guests. And you don't like kissing anyone's ass.
Oh.
You want to report on what you feel is, newsworthy. And if it's good, it's good. If it ain't, it ain't.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to continue to go back to the point that you were doing it at a time when nobody was. So
No.
it was just a foreign idea that you wouldn't kiss their ass. It had to be completely like alien to them, that you weren't just buying into it. And it was a big market where people were listening. And so I get where they would call the athletic commission. I get where they would be pissed off because you're an alien at this point. Like, you don't fit what they do or what they
Right.
understand, especially Ole at this point.
Right. I mean, and the thing is, the newsletters like the Torch and Meltzer's Observer, those were more like subscription industry trade. They called them the dirt sheets. They still do. But a show like mine, you don't know how many people are listening at any given time and in how many states, especially in the evening show. So I was a little bit more. I was as opinionated. I wasn't more extreme than the other two, because certainly Meltzer editorialized. Wade Keller and his columnists editorialized. And I just spoke each week on how I felt things were going, and it wasn't pretty sometimes. And you have to have the repercussions because of the potential audience that I was reaching every week. You don't want to lose your credibility.
No, and realistically, you were getting everyone as they left the company.
Always.
Right.
That was never a problem.
They came right to you. And who did you get specifically often more than someone like a Cactus who was going to do it for you anyways? Cactus was just going to come on with or without permission. Right. I mean, you got Bischoff, which was awesome, but at the same time, I think you were getting really more into the I want to hear the real story and not the corporate line.
Right. Very true.
So you were kind of like, fuck it.
Exactly. It was fuck it. That's it.
And really, in this show, guys, I really listened to later in the evening show where you are pushing the limit of, they're talking about how great this is for television, and you're talking about exploitation. And I thought that was really nobody was saying that in '93 at all.
No.
I mean, that part was, it's easy now when we see it and we know what it is, but back then, not at all, John.
No.
It was awesome.
It's a good point. You really look back, nowadays everyone looks at the stuff in Nature and is like, oh, why would they even try that? Obviously you couldn't do that. Everything you can with the 2020 of hindsight. But in that moment, you were already saying you didn't like the things that were to come as well. You're like, these guys can't, you have a whole conversation about concussions later on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't really come up until 2000s when the industry started taking that into account.
Yeah. It was, and you had somebody on your show talking about HD. Come on.
Oh yeah.
That's right. HD TV.
It was
that was so foreign back then. It was kind of like, what is this going to be? What is it?
Yeah. He even says it's not going to make it to the States for 5 or 6 years. It's amazing. Brandon from Rockville Center is our next clip and our next caller. I liked it because of your ties to Paulie, and because of ECW starting to get a little bit of a buzz going, and this is before the big buzz. Yeah. This person asked specifically what you think the long-term plans are with ECW, and I like what your theory is.
Fascinating.
Let's go to Brandon from Rockville Center.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air, Brandon.
Hi, John. How you doing?
Okay.
What do you think the long-term plans for the ECW are? Do you have any idea what they are?
Well, with Eddie Gilbert moving to Philadelphia, that certainly means that they're going to put some time in to try to develop this group. They are on a sports channel in Philadelphia. They're going to be running consistent TV, and they're going to stick to a little regional promotion. They're not going to be going out there trying to take over the world. They're going to try to find their niche, and you're going to see more and more of that. I think there'll be... There we go. There'll be companies springing up all over trying to do the same thing ECW's
Brandon,
trying
who
to
are
do.
you talking to?
He's on the radio.
Sorry.
Is this his mom?
Yes.
Well, how you doing?
Did he just hang? Hi, how are you?
I think you embarrassed him. Yeah, he's you're actually on the radio too right now.
I'm live, huh?
Yes, you're live and on the air on WNYG.
Which is this? What station is this?
WNYG 1440.
Okay, is this wrestling?
Yes, it is.
Yes, he's into wrestling. They both like wrestling a lot.
Are you into oldies music?
Me? Yes.
Yeah. Well, at right after our show, at 11 o'clock, Mickey B, the Prince of Rock and Roll, airs on this station. And
All right. Well, we'll have to listen to it.
Check it out. Well, it's good talking to you.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay. Brandon and his mom from Rockville Center. Now, will this youngster call up again, maybe next week, or you think he's too embarrassed to do so? Brandon, you're welcome to call back at any time, as is your mom.
That was crazy. That poor kid, got right off the phone. Brandon, who are you talking to? Click.
Yeah. It was awesome. But right before that, you did say this is going to be a regional promotion. They will not try to take over the world. Was your quote?
Yeah, but that changed too when Paul E took over, and then when they did decide to go national.
Yeah.
That was
awesome.
Yeah. So, way to roll with that, huh? Mom, you just took over.
Yeah,
that was great. That's great radio.
Yeah, she sounded cool.
Yeah. As is your mom. Beep. I loved that she's all like, "Oh yeah, they love wrestling. Do you like oldies?" Like you're immediately like, "You gotta listen to Mickey B."
Yeah. Selling it.
Give Mickey the plug. Give him a little rub.
Yeah, it was so good.
Meanwhile, Brandon's not going back to school for a week because he's just going to get ripped.
It'll be fascinating to hear if he ever calls back.
Yeah.
That was my first clip I cut. I heard that. I started laughing, and I was like, all right.
That was hilarious. When I heard that, too, I was like, oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and I was confused by the phone dialing. Boop, 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 boop. And I remembered all the fast dials that they used to have.
Yeah,
what was
that all about?
It was Mom trying to make a call.
Yeah,
Mom picked up the phone.
Yes, right. She picked it up and she pressed speed dial.
Yep.
Because they did have that back then.
Yep. You had like your 1 through 6 numbers you can program, so you hit the one and it would just dial through.
Yeah, she puts the receiver up to her ear and she hears a kid talking to some jabroni on the radio.
Brandon, who are you talking to?
He hung up quick. It was great.
Yeah. That would have been funny to hear him in the background. Ma, just hang up.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah. That was my last clip from the morning show. You did you really went on about a lot to do with Cactus. Adam from Levittown called in, says he's still upset about Paramount and that it was more fun listening to the fans chanting "We want Doink" a couple rows back.
Yeah.
And then you say that he said, "Do you think they're going to try and bring over Doink to WCW?" And you said, "Everyone there's already a clown." But you also say that, in hindsight, Jim Herd had a much better product at the time.
That was saying something.
Yeah.
After all the idiotic things that he tried to do, but the company was in much better shape in 89, 90 than it was at this present time 30 years ago.
Yeah. And you even hammered Jim Herd on the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Often.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for it because going back and watching these 2 weeks, the talent and the roster was amazing.
Yes.
They had no excuse.
No excuse.
It was ridiculous. I'm like, damn, if you can't do it with this roster, then you're
it was always a situation where there wasn't ever a leader. Everyone wanted to be pushed or push their friends, or there was so much backstabbing constantly in WCW that they could never get ahead. And with Bischoff just really being in there for a short period of time running the show, it really took another couple of years before they really started turning it around.
Yeah. And you guys are unhappy with him on commentary, calling names wrong, moves wrong.
Yeah.
And you guys gave him some flack too.
Yeah, we weren't happy with WCW on this particular week.
Adam also says that it was clear that there was like a strike during the Vader Cactus match where you see his nose break.
Yes.
And, yeah.
And that's the crazy thing, because it was 2 matches that were brutal, one right after the other.
Yeah. And the second one, he's wrestling with his nose taped up.
Yes.
Because his nose is broken. You're like,
Right.
how is he cleared?
How was he cleared?
He says in clips that for the interview, because he had healed up a little bit, he was punching himself in the face on the way to the match. And he just
so he can make it look better.
he was really just trying, listening to his commitment.
Was that on the podcast he does with Conrad? You heard that?
I just went back to YouTube. YouTube's the greatest tool in the world. And I was just pulling clips from Cactus in 93.
Yeah, because he did a show recently. I haven't heard it yet because I listened to the Folius Pod that he does with ad-free shows and Conrad Thompson, which is just an incredible podcast.
Yeah.
So he did a whole episode on his Vader series because what a history. I mean, and they did that. I think it came out 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That might have been it.
And so you might have heard it on there, and I'm certainly going to check that out now as well. But yeah, I mean, from the brutality of the matches till the mistake and the accident that happened in Germany and losing his ear. I mean, Vader wasn't very kind to him as an opponent.
No, just ridiculous.
Well, that's what this guy says, Adam from Levittown. He says they need someone who's going to put Vader in his place. They got to put him in the ring with someone who's just as vicious as him to let him know what it's like. Yeah. Like, that's his thought, is like, geez. It's crazy, too, because when you hear people talk about Vader, and they always talk about how stiff he was, but you kind of forget this era where he's ending guys' careers and putting them in hospitals. And
he's beating the crap out of people.
Yeah. I've always liked Bret Hart's description of wrestling Vader more than anybody.
What do you say?
Says it's like fighting a dump truck filled with vomit.
Oh, shit.
That's funny.
That's brutal.
Yeah. He says just smelly and you can't move it and it hurts to hit it. Like, so crazy. See, but you did talk about Doink. So after that call, you do say that the thing about Doink you wanted to mention, you're like, Doink might be the hottest commodity in wrestling right now. You said that you have a niece who started watching wrestling.
Yes, little Gabby.
Yeah. And was it your niece's daughter that got really into it? Who was like 3?
Yeah, my niece, Melissa, had a daughter named Gabrielle. And I think at this juncture, she was born in 1990, so she was about 3 years old. Yeah. And I put wrestling on and had to watch it. She kind of just gravitated to Doink. And it was like she saw a picture in one of my magazines, and she just took it with her. She liked Doink.
Yeah, it's so cool. But that's also one of the fun parts about wrestling. You know what I mean? Like, and other things. But like, it's one of the fun parts when you can put it on with a kid and start connecting to it. My buddy, who I started the podcast with, we would go over watch wrestling at his house because his kids would get so into it. We would all just kind of have fun and goof off. Who's your favorite? Who's my favorite? Our favorites are facing each other. And it's like that connection, So
I tell you what, I got screamed at by my younger sister when I think my nephew was like a year or 2, and I had an apartment downstairs from them. This is probably 1998, or he was born in 97, so it probably was 1999. This was right in the middle of the Attitude Era. It was right in the middle of this stuff, and of course I got my nephew Dominic watching wrestling right away, and she came downstairs and she saw it and she was like, "Buddy, I don't want him watching that crap." But he fell in love with it.
So good. And
he still digs it. And
But even to this day, Marsh, to your point, like I'm 40-something years old, 47 years old, and I've got a group text with my friends that will race to see who can put the next best MJF, promo on, because we're just dying. I mean, that's
nice.
That's the greatest part about wrestling, is that's how we're connecting. And it's, we may not even talk the whole week, but we get that clip and it's, we just that bonding moment. And it's, it's great. It's one of the best parts about it.
You got to cherry pick the good stuff.
Yes. You got to be careful for sure. But yeah, you're right.
And my fandom of wrestling is the number one reason I hear from someone I haven't heard from in a long time. Every time someone reaches out to me and I haven't heard from them in years, It's usually because they saw something or read something and it's wrestling related and they just want to talk to me about it. And I go, this is amazing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Great.
John, you said you're moving. You said you're getting out of Dodge. You're moving
Yes.
to a different location. Is that a house?
Yeah, we had been renting an apartment. My mom and I. We were on. It was a small 1-bedroom, and with the tour happening and the things that I had, some additional resources, we rented a house. Really, really nice house on Ecker Avenue in West Babylon. 40 Ecker. I love that house. And a big backyard, and there were tenants upstairs, but we had the main floor and the basement, which I turned into an office. And yeah, that was a big move for us. It was a great place, and we'd have barbecues there. And during that summer, Mick Foley, Ted Petty. I mean, we'd have guys coming over and hanging out, and that was also the backyard where I have this video of Mick with his son and daughter, with Dewey and Noel, at a barbecue, a Memorial Day barbecue. And I think it was probably 94, 95, somewhere. And my Gabby, who we were just talking about, she was only 3, 4. And here he comes with his family, and we're doing a cookout, and he's rolling around on the grass with all the kids, wrestling them and jumping on them. And that was a good place. I really loved that house. I wanted to buy that house, but I wasn't able to. And but yeah, that was a good memory. That was the move that we were talking about. It was a good move for us in '93.
That's cool. Plus, you smoked in that last house a lot when you recorded there, so. And he knows if that fat cat ruined it.
That's right, child.
Yeah.
You know what I used to do? Just one little quick thing. I don't know if I should ever find that tape. There was some, I had a videotape camera, and one day, and it was in the middle of like a snowstorm, so I was bored. I couldn't get out. I filmed the freaking cat the whole day on my video camera, and I called it the day in the life of a cat.
You should get it, and we should lay some music down underneath it and make it all
I have it, yeah.
Like a Wes Anderson film.
Put it on YouTube. That's great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if that cat was as big and drooly as you said.
Oh, yeah. I think I might even have captured some drool. I probably definitely captured some drool. Like you scratch the top of his head, and all of a sudden just it starts oozing out of the sides of his mouth.
Amazing. Let's see. Steve from West Hampstead watched the Cactus and Vader, said it was really hard to watch. You said your mom couldn't watch it. You'd put it on, and she just knew Cactus too well that she walked out. She said she couldn't watch it.
My mom would get scared watching Bugs Bunny cartoons, so she certainly couldn't see that.
Yeah, well, they're both hard to stomach. Cactus said on your call with him, so you did get a hold of him, that he felt really strange that night, like something was going to happen, and that even people in the back who normally joke around and play with him before the show were also kind of eerily silent, like everyone just knew this wasn't going to go well. And it made me wonder if
it's a premonition,
if there's premonition, or if Vader had a legitimate issue with Mick that he was going to take care of tonight. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that other people knew but didn't really want to say. And
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Knows, right? That's a good question to ask him.
Yeah. And that's also the conversation you have where you talk about football players having to cut their career short due to concussions, and the amount of concussions that Cactus has had, you think may lead to him having to cut his career short, which is also crazy. You're talking about this here, and we're 4 or 5 years removed from that Rock match where he takes 25 chair shots to the head.
Right.
And this is years before that. You're already saying he's taken too many.
Yeah, that was horrific. Oof.
Yeah. That match had me like legitimately hating The Rock for years after he finished wrestling. I was like, that guy's a jerk.
And just look at the kids. I mean, my goodness, what those kids were traumatized.
Yeah. But that's all I was thinking about when I heard this conversation, but it was cool. You did mention that you wouldn't be surprised if Brett left for WCW with all the crazy stuff going on with the Hogan stuff. And then you told a story about how there's been issues there before, and you said that there was even an instance where Brett slapped Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No. I don't know the details or specifics.
Wow.
It's the first time I had heard it. And I thought, I'd never.
Right? It's the first time I had heard it, and I thought maybe I missed it somewhere along the line, but it was also kind of came up in passing. You're like, oh yeah, Brett had an issue with this, and he was yelling at Vince, and he even had the issue where he slapped his son Shane, and then he does this other thing. I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought maybe it was on an older episode or something that we.
No, I mean, probably never talked about it. It was probably like just kind of an inside thing that no one really knew except for some insiders, maybe. And I you know, there's so much. There's so much. I mean, you can't remember everything.
Yeah, but that's nuts.
Fucking 66. You know.
Well, you were Brett. Get him on here.
About it though, too. I mean, you were so casual. It was like, yeah, and he slapped Shane. You know?
Yeah, he probably thought like, shit, I shouldn't have said that. Keep it moving. Let's get Brett on to talk about it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I will see him at WrestleCon. Maybe I'll ask him, hey, did you ever slap the shit out of Shane, Brett?
I would like to do that, actually. He'd expect it out of you, but he wouldn't like some fucking dumb guy.
Yeah, you should ask him if you're at WrestleCon. Yeah.
Hey, remember that time he slapped Shane?
Yeah, what happened with that? Make sure you tape it on your phone.
Yeah, put it in your little pocket, little camera pointing out.
Yeah, get a lot of sound bites for us when you're up there.
There you go. Yeah. I'll work on that.
Yeah.
It'll be.
He like takes note.
I'll be kicked out in 2 minutes.
Say it's for an assembly for the school district.
There you go.
Trying to get the inside scoop on what happened in wrestling all those years ago.
Yeah. And you know, honestly, the whole idea of going out there and doing something like that, when you come back and you start talking to people about, you know, the wrestling, even my guys, my friends that are over here, you know, they just, so to me, I don't give a shit. I love it. So I come back and talk to the kids. Their idea of wrestling, like we were talking about before the show, and wrestling today, you know, you talk about Bruno and some of our teams, they have no idea. And so my goal is to educate them. So if I go, I'll take pictures and like Bret the Hitman Hart. And if you get in trouble and you come see me, we're gonna have a lesson, and I'll find a way to weave in some Hitman or something to get them there. It's fun.
What an assignment!
It's an abuse of power that I love.
Yeah, there you
go. You also in that call with Bob Flint Pleasant, that's where you talk about the issues with WCW being constant disarray without someone being in charge, and you're like, at least with the WWF, there's one person in charge all the time. And you think that in the next 6 months or so, it's going to be a lot more competition, especially if Crockett comes back. Pat from Hicksville calls and says that he wants to know if there's a place he can send get well cards to Cactus. And so,
yes, that was on Twitter this week.
What do you mean?
And the show hasn't even been aired yet, because what Cactus did, because we got a ton of cards for him, get well cards. And what he did, and even though it took a while and no one asked him to do it, but he wrote each and every one of the people who sent him a get well wish, and they sent them all autographed pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was on Twitter. It was like, because everyone said 30 years ago, Cactus was injured, and it was David Bixenspan, Bix. He put up there. He goes, and he told the story on there, and he tagged me on it, and I was like, yeah, that was on my show.
Wow. Yeah, well, here you talk about it. You talk about it again later, so that's why I've kind of get into the Paul clips, because you talk about it there. You guys also really
back then.
Yeah. You said to send it in. You gave an address and said send it in, care of me, and I'll make sure that he gets them. You're like, I'm not just going to give his address on the air. And, yeah, it makes sense. And you talk a lot about workman's comp and insurance and unions in that conversation too. And Jason noticed that WCW no longer is calling the Hollywood Blondes the unified tag team champions, that they're just the tag champions, and they dropped that other title. So what's old is new again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that brings us to Paul.
Yay.
Yeah. So I thought that was going to be, in the interest of time, save us time, and it did not. So we do have a bunch of clips with Paul, though, because I just kept laughing. This is the moment after the capsule that Paul walks in, because at the time of the capsule, he was still trying to find the location.
Yeah, even though he's been there previously many times.
New place. So this is Paul walking into the studio.
Someone is giving me the middle finger as he's walking into the studio, and I would have to say, direct from the China Club, wearing his China Club cap, his China Club brown leather attire, a friend of yours, Don, and a friend of all wrestling fans everywhere.
No China Club underwear, though.
No China Club underwear.
I don't wear underwear.
It is Mr. Paul E. Dangerously. Paul E., how are you doing, sir?
I'm out of breath. You never have to worry about anybody coming down here to beat you up. Nobody can find this building.
It's right in the heart of the city. What are you talking
I've
about?
lived here all my heart of the city. It's like a clotted artery. Come on. I mean, I can't find this building worth a you-know-what.
Well, you're here now, and we're happy to have you. Out of breath. Just saw a picture of Missy Hyatt, did you?
Yeah, but I had to leave early because the booth was too cramped and I ran out of quarters.
A pretty sticky situation, I guess. All right, listen. Don, how's the station coming up?
Not too good. We have a thunderstorm going on around here, so not picking it up too clear.
Okay. Well, listen, we will talk to you next week, and thanks for the information.
Did I miss his report?
Yes, you did.
What do you have to say?
He said Jim Ross is coming down to the studio tonight to have a face-to-face interview with Paul E.
I would love for Jim Ross to come on your show. As a matter of fact, why don't you call him on the phone right now?
You got his number?
Well, as a matter of fact, I do. I mean, now, wait a minute. Now, he was supposed to come on your show a couple weeks ago, but he was sick, right?
Yeah, he was sick.
Well,
he was sick of the truth.
I have noticed that Jim Ross has been on Wrestling Challenge, and he did WrestleMania, and he's been doing a tremendous job.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously, on the WWF. Probably the best announcing I've ever seen Jim do. Probably the best announcing in the history of this sport. So obviously he feels great.
Yeah.
Why don't you have him on your show since he feels better?
Well, I guess I'm...
Why don't you call him right now and have Jim
right
come on your show?
We're going to give the number to Tom, the engineer,
since he feels so much better because he is a premier
announcer
announcer in the entire sport.
I'd love to have him on.
Because he's been doing great. I mean, I heard his announcing on Wrestling Challenge. He sounds good. His voice is clear. You know, he's probably been taking him Luden's cough drops.
And he looked pretty damn good in that toga, didn't he?
I liked him, personally. You know, so obviously he's healthy. He feels better. Have him on the show.
Okay.
Why? How come you won't have him on your show?
I'd love to have him, Paul.
Well, how
We'll
come
call
you
him up.
don't? Why don't you then?
You got his number in Connecticut?
Sure. Is he in Connecticut tonight?
Did he move? I don't know. Is he in
I
Atlanta?
don't know. Call his number in Atlanta. I mean, why not? Why not have the premier announcer on your show who canceled because he was sick? That's the reason he said, I'm Jim Ross, and I'm sick. Well, since he's sick, since he feels better, have him on your show. See, you got too many personal problems with Jim Ross.
I don't have any personal
problems. Well, then
problems
have him
with
on
the
your
man.
show.
All right, during the commercial break, we'll ring him up.
Why not?
Okay.
All righty, John. Have a
All
good
right.
show.
Thanks, Donnie.
Donnie got out of Dodge.
I love Donnie. Dude, I like when you guys made that off-color joke and you just hear Donnie in the background. Bada boom.
A sticky situation in the peep show booth with Paulie running out of quarters for Misty Hyatt.
So good.
What a visual.
Just insane.
We pushed the envelope a little bit 30 years ago.
Yeah, and actually, when you think about it, it was pushing the envelope because he's also careful not to cuss because he says, you know, he's like, you know what? You know what I mean? Like he didn't want to curse.
Yeah.
But he's also willing to make a lot of jokes to get you right up into the point of cursing.
Right. Didn't cross the line, but stepped on it.
Yep. Just funny. Yeah, and then at the end, all right, guys, have a good show.
I'm out.
Yeah. Right after this is when you bring Dave Meltzer on.
Yeah.
And so this is you trying to connect to Dave Meltzer, and it made me laugh too because it was also just a ridiculous technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Because you're having issues connecting with Meltzer, you cut to a commercial break, but you have Paul read the ad.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, so I kept
It was entertaining.
Hey, Don Laible. And why don't we do this? Why don't we introduce our other guest, Mr. Dave Meltzer, direct from Campbell, California. Holy smoke.
He has a squeaky voice, doesn't he?
Dave, are you there?
I'm here, yeah.
Dave doesn't feel well tonight. Obviously, Dave spent too much time around Jim Ross when Jim Ross was sick, so therefore Dave doesn't feel well, and he's all squeaky and everything.
Why don't I do this? This is just a bad connection with Dave, Tom, you think? Want me to put him on the other hotline? Dave, we're going to call you right back, okay?
Okay.
All right. Paul, why don't you do this? We're going to do something different tonight. As I'm giving our engineer, Tom,
Hi,
the number
Tom.
for Paul E. We're going to...
I scared Tom.
You're going to read our first commercial.
Okay, let me read it.
Okay? And I'll give Tom... We'll
Joe's
Dave
Adult
on the-
Film. See your
Okay,
favorite
good, all right.
X-rated movies.
So here's Paul E.
Sorry.
with the spot for Holbro Paints, one of our the major sponsor right here. Go ahead, Paul E. Hit it.
Wrestling. What does that say? Hey, John, what does that say? Fans? A fan. I can't read your writing. Feel like you're in a headlock. Feel like you've been body slammed. Feel like you're in a sleeper hold. Well, it's time to wake up. Spring is here. I hate spring, don't you? You know, the leaves start blossoming and everything. Anyway, it's time to get off the mat and get a Who wrote this copy? On Benjamin. What's this guy's name? I can't read his name. It's Benjamin. Who cares what his last name is? Benjamin's Regal paint products, such as Regal Wall Satin, which is flat, whatever that means. Regal Aqua Glow semi-gloss, Regal Aqua Velvet Eggshell, Regal Aqua Pearl. It's a bunch of Regal things and a bunch of Aqua whatever. Don't wrestle. Isn't that cute? Don't wrestle around. Don't wrestle around with inferior paints. Purchase any 4 gallons. Now get this. Okay, check this out. If you purchase 4 gallons of Benjamin's Regal paints at Holbro, which is 1851 Flatbush Avenue. You knew that. You want the number? 718-338-7800. Remember, 718-338-7800. See the tag team of Johnny O. Early Earl. It's like a rap artist. Yo, I'm Johnny O. Early Earl. Check it out. Mention Wrestling Spotlight's John Arezzi, the big fat guy with the dark glasses that was on Donahue, sitting right near Vince McMahon, and receive absolutely free an old-timers Yankee cap.
That's right.
That means not north of the Mason-Dixon line. We're talking the New York Yankees, like Mickey Mantle, if he's still alive. Value $20 retail. Maybe from some guy in the street with a funny accent and dreadlocks, I think it's $18. They say it's 20. While supplies last, which means they probably got 2 and you show up and they don't give you one anyway. Listen in for information on a Wrestling Superstars autograph session to be held soon at Holbro of Brooklyn, 1851 Flatbush Avenue. Now remember that number, 718-338-7800. Call him up, breathe heavy, ask him for a date with his sister. I don't know, but buy the guy's paint, because if you don't, John goes off the air, and then I get no exposure in the New York market at all.
Okay, thank you, Paulie Dangerously.
Classic.
Again, one of my favorite parts was when you'd have a guest and they would become a part of the ad for just even a little bit. You know, like even when you ask Conan, you ever heard of this paint? And goes, no, but I would love to.
And Paulie couldn't read the last name. It was Benjamin Moore Paints.
Yeah, Benjamin Moore.
But yeah, that was always fun to have them chime in.
Yeah, that's the only ad I cut with Paul reading it, but you do have him read 1 or 2 more later on, and it's also
there,
a mess.
right? Might as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was great. They Paul interrupts every ad you do with something.
Of course.
So that's worth checking out the Patreon to listen to the entirety of the show.
Patreon.com/John Arezzi. Hear the whole thing. Yeah. Enjoy it. $5 a month. That's it. Or you want to be like Joseph, and be an executive producer.
There you go. It's well worth the money.
I pulled a lot of this episode, but there's still a lot of good stuff in there. Oh,
Marsh,
part of the... Go ahead.
The part that I wanted to say was John gets really frustrated. Like, hey, I've got a lot more show to go. And as he's starting to interrupt him, I thought that part was, okay, Paulie, I get it. Now let's go on to the show. But as I was saying to John before you came on, I could have listened to that all day long from 30 years ago. It was just great radio. The two of them, the banter, and it was awesome.
Yeah, when you have a chemistry with someone too, and he would be condescending and he'd be dismissive and ridicule and make fun of me, but that was his stick. But I loved it. I loved every second of it. Every time he was on.
I think at one point he reminds you that he's the heel, not you. I thought that was priceless.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
he's so quick.
Hey, I'm the heel.
Yep.
Very quick.
Now, when the radio was off and you guys talked outside of that, I imagine a lot of the ridicule was just not there.
No.
Or would he still dig at you sometimes?
Well, a couple, not extensively, but I still loved those conversations. I sometimes wasn't expecting a call at 2 a.m, so we could talk over like an angle or something with me, and but that's the way he was. I mean, it was always great. I mean, we had a camaraderie that was pretty tight back then.
Okay, because I also know that when the radio was off, that the Power Twins were the same mean to you.
Yes.
So just curious. But yeah, that was awesome. It was really funny. Oh, and the reason you were having such a big issue with Meltzer and talking to Tom is you do mention at the top of the show there's no producer.
Yeah, Bruce couldn't make it that night.
Yeah. Which is going to explain why every caller you say, who are you and where are you from?
Yep. No screener.
Yep. You do get Meltzer on successfully, and this is where you, Meltzer, and Paul talk about the Cactus and Vader match, which I think puts kind of a nice bow on the opening show, or the opening earlier show.
Okay, we are.
So then you took her out, and we on?
Yeah, I've had a cup of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
At 7-Eleven coffee.
That was it.
That's my favorite coffee.
Are they a sponsor?
Not yet.
Then don't plug them. Drink the coffee from the paint store.
Okay. Let's bring on Dave Meltzer. Dave was holding for us first. We'll talk to Dave. Dave, are you there?
I'm here. How you doing?
We're going crazy, actually. We're here with Paulie Dangerously. You know Paul pretty well.
He knows me very well.
Yeah. We met.
Several times. See, Dave likes me so much. He's like, yeah, I don't know how much I say about Paul. See, what Dave doesn't realize that I like him so much, I'm willing to admit on here, this is the only honest person in the wrestling business that I've ever dealt with.
What about me?
You're a liar.
I'm getting out of here, folks. We'll see you later. But Dave, lots of things going on in wrestling, as you know. You know everything that's going on in the business, pretty much. Things that are happening right now that are, on a sad note to start off. Okay, let's talk about the Cactus Jack deal.
Yeah, that was pretty graphic. That thing on TV. The way the TV show ended, it was. I have to say this. I almost hate to say it like this because you don't want to talk about like a very real injury and then confuse it with television arts and things like that. But I thought that the way WCW finished that television show was probably the best work that they've done since this new group has taken control of the company. Because there hasn't been a lot good, and that was really well done. I mean, it ended, and you were really wanting to find out more. And usually these shows end, and it's like, you're not even there by the time the show's over anyway.
Yeah.
They had a good match, Cactus and Big Van Vader, and Cactus was injured, and it looked really bad on TV. I'll tell you that.
I don't know when he'll be back in action, but I'm under the impression that it'll be a while.
Well, if I was them, looking at it strictly from a business standpoint, if he's healthy, and healthy is a matter of speaking because I don't know if he's ever going to be totally healthy with all the punishment he's taken over the last couple of years. If he's healthy in a month, I think there'd be a lot more interest in him wrestling Vader on that pay-per-view than Vader against Davey Boy Smith. I don't even think that it's comparable.
That makes too much sense.
Well, we'll see. I mean, I just think that they're going to get a lot more reaction to this than they're expecting because that's the most compelling thing that they've done in a long time.
Paul, did you see it? I didn't even see it tonight. I was in transit
I watched
tonight.
it. I thought it was sincerely the most... It hit home harder than any WCW show that I've seen in several years. It was very McMahonish. It was very, very reminiscent of when Earthquake hit Hulk Hogan on the Brother Love show, and they stretched out Hulk Hogan. The images that were shown on television were very, very powerful. On a nitpicky deal, I was disturbed by the fact that they stopped reminding us who did it to Cactus Jack. I was disturbed by the fact that they didn't mention Vader's name once they came back from the commercial because it was Vader that did this to Cactus Jack. But that's just nitpicky. That's just me. I think it was a tremendous deal. I thought it came off on television tremendously emotional, and it was obviously the best work WCW has done in a very, very long time, especially when Schiavone and Ventura put down their headsets to tend to Cactus Jack. To me, that was a very powerful moment and something that I think will sit with the fans past an hour after the show.
I agree with it. I think a lot of what happens in wrestling, it's kind of like entertainment for the moment. And then when it's over, you really don't think about it again. And I think that most people who saw that will probably be thinking about it many times during the next week or two and probably remember it. It's one of those rare things in wrestling that you'll probably remember a year from now. You'll remember when they took Cactus Jack out, and I think people remember, oh, yeah, I remember I saw that on TV.
But the saddest thing about the whole scenario was that it had to take a legitimate injury, a serious injury, for this dramatic scene to unfold on the television.
Yeah, that's true. You know, the other thing that's kind of
it's almost
bad
like exploitation.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that's kind of bad about this is that, he had the concussion a little over a week ago. I guess it was 2 weeks ago when they had the first match. Mm-hmm. He came back and got another concussion, and I mean that's not good for you.
No, not in a week or two. That's not good for you anytime. But over a 2-week period of time to have a concussion and a severe concussion on top of it, no, that's not good.
Yeah, I hope he takes some time off.
Yeah.
I don't know how long he's going to have to take off, but I hope he doesn't rush himself back. Because
no, he shouldn't do it at this point. Not at all.
He was banged up in that ring. You can just see by the way he moves and his knee and everything.
Well, I saw him at the Paramount show here in New York. Before the show, after the show, and during the show, he looked like he needed to take some time off. He needed a break. And he'll get one now, but it's sad to see that it's taken this to give him the break.
Yeah.
Wow. And then they don't capitalize on what could have been a tremendous grudge series of these two with Cactus, coming back, strong baby face, sympathy, and then they turn him into a person who has amnesia. Is that what happened directly after this?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
When he comes back, he's lost in Cleveland, walking around.
Yeah, he didn't know where he was. He didn't know. That was such a stupid follow-up to a very real moneymaker. It could have been a tremendous moneymaker for them, and they turned it into a fucking cartoon.
You go back and think about Savage and Steamboat. That from WrestleMania 3. That wasn't even serious. That was a work, and you kind of compare those two. And the one thing that struck me going back and really watching those 2 weeks of wrestling was how many Cactus fans were in the crowd with the signs, homemade hats. I mean, he was not just over; he was way over.
Way over.
They just could not capitalize. They didn't know what they had, and it's blind. You could see he's over.
He made his way, and he became who he is in spite of what the people in charge thought of him. Not just in WW,
all the way
in WCW, but in WWF as well. When he came in finally, Vince made that famous remark, "All right, I'll bring him in, but I'm not going to show anyone his face."
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. And it's crazy, too, because you think about the amount of hospital angles that were contrived in wrestling to make money. And now you have one that is legitimate, and they go, well, we better not try and make money off that.
Right.
Oh, let's turn it into some buffoonery.
Yeah.
And I really wonder, is it just jealousy at that point? Is it Ole? Is it Dusty? Is it
all of it?
Guys? He's from New York. I mean, he's not one of them. It's just...
No, they never got the respect. And even Flair. I mean, it was like he wasn't, Flair wasn't a fan.
Right.
Ole wasn't a fan, certainly. I don't know if Bischoff was or was not. So, the guy put his body out on the line every single time he stepped into the ring, whether it was a house show, a TV taping, a pay-per-view, whatever. And he made his way, and he became who he became, which is one of the most spectacular performers in the history of pro wrestling, in spite of what the powers of be tried to do to him with their booking.
So, John, you know him so well. Do you feel like he always felt like he had to just to get the respect, like put his body on the line that way?
Yeah, because he wasn't cut. He wasn't a muscle guy. He was, average looking in regard to just an average looking dude, except for the beard and all the other. He was an average Joe. And in the wrestling business, especially during the late 80s, early 90s, everyone was a muscle freak, and he stood out like a sore thumb, and he had to do things that were different in order to get over. But everything he did was authentic, and he gave a lot of thought to everything that he did. The entire history of his career, he was very methodical and very driven as what this character is going to be, whether it was Cactus Jack or even Mankind, or if it was Cactus Jack Manson even before that he wasn't really happy about doing. He always found a way to get over with authenticity and really genuine heart and soul for the business.
So let me ask it a little bit differently, because I really do wonder about this. Not for the fans' perspective, but for the guys in the back. Like, I get he didn't look the part, but do you think he put his body, because all those guys in the beginning didn't respect him, but everybody respects him now. Do you think do you think that was what drove him to get the respect from the guys in the back?
I don't think he cared about the respect of the guys.
Okay.
I may be wrong, but he was driven about his career, and he just did things to get over, and he was methodical. So I don't know if he really cared. I think he totally cared what a Terry Funk thought of him.
Right.
And what a Paul E. and what a Sabu and Taker, because Taker wanted to work with him. I mean, these were the people that he won over and who saw what he was actually about. So maybe those individuals, he really cared about what they thought. But for the most part, the way he was mistreated on the booking side of it, from the minute he entered WCW in '89 and became a stooge for Kevin Sullivan, and then that didn't last long, and he got out and went on the independent scene and made more waves, and went to Herb Abrams, and then went back to WCW, where he thought he was going to be respected a little bit more, and didn't happen. And they didn't even exploit in a positive way when he lost his ear.
Yeah.
And then he finally gets out of there and he goes to ECW, and look what happened there. I mean, he just totally grabbed that by the balls, and he made it work in a way that really gave him whatever credibility that was lacking. He got it as soon as he got it to ECW.
It's kind of interesting, too, that you think about all these injuries happen in WCW, and WWF profited off the stories of those injuries the most.
Yes.
Like, they released T-shirts with a list of injuries. They had Mankind had the exposed ear so you could see it was ripped off, and he would say it in his opening promo, the ear that was ripped from my skull.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
But then go to the Mick Foley, Dude Love, Mankind. I mean, there's no better performer that I can recall ever.
Yeah, the Dude Love was that was truly a love of his, that character, because of how he did that entire movie about Dude Love when he was a kid. And jumped off the roof of his freaking house.
Just love it. I mean, that's the part that as a fan, we don't get a chance to say thank you. And I love your answer, because I love the fact that he did it for fans, not just for the respect, because if that's the way it was, then great.
You're not going to find anybody more authentic than him.
Right.
And how he did care about those people who were his fans, and still does to this day. One of the nicest guys ever. I would have to say maybe even the nicest guy ever in this freaking crazy business.
yeah. And I got to imagine you get over enough with the fans, it doesn't matter what they think about you in the back. Yeah.
Right.
But he always has given so much, even well after he had to. And I just wonder why. I mean,
also, the guys have to like it, because he was just a genuine human. He was just a kind, great person, family man, all of the great qualities that a human can have. So unless you were a total dick, excuse the French, in the back, you would have to grow to like this guy because of who he was.
What's what I mean, as far as like trying to the body stuff is you, if you get over with the fans, it doesn't matter what they think about you in the back. But also, if you give them no reason to hate you in the back, it becomes impossible to book you. If people just like being around you, plus the fans are over, then it doesn't matter if they really respect you or think what you're doing, or the flares of the Olies. They get outvoted by the amount of people who just like you.
Not a backstabber.
Yeah,
never was.
Well, he won over Vince, right? That's testament enough.
Yes.
Yep. We do get into a bunch of the callers. You know what I was noticing? Because you brought it up last week. You said, why are these kids up so late? Your morning show has a much older call-in audience than your evening show.
I know.
And that's really bizarre when I think about it. How early wasn't it like 10 a.m.?
It was 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and then at night it was 11 p.m.
11 p.m. So it's like, Yeah, you have children up listening to you at night, but the adults are waking up and listening to you Saturday morning. It's weird. So maybe that's just the way of it.
Screwy, man.
Because you have a couple kids call in. I don't remember if the clip has it, but there's one where you go like, come on, like you're really rushing them through the. Because they're like, hello. It's like, it's you. And I'm like, I'm like, come on, let's get to it. Like, but the first clip we have is Sarah from Brooklyn. Because the first couple calls are pretty benign. The second one is, are the two doinks going to be a tag team? And Dave was like, what else would they do with them?
Yeah, this call with Sarah was pretty good.
Who are you and where are you calling from? You are on the air.
This is Sarah from Brooklyn.
Sarah?
Yes.
How are you doing, Sarah?
Fine.
What can we do for you?
I'd like to know if Paulie Dangerously would be going to the WWF anytime soon.
I don't think so. Personally, lower your radio. I hate that.
Yeah, lower that radio, Sarah.
Why are we on 7-second delay anyway? Don't you trust me?
No.
You shouldn't. Anyway, will I be going to the WWF soon? Tell you what, here's what we do. There's a challenge. Get somebody from the WWF on the air here next week. I'll come on and USM if I'm going to the WWF. And if not, ask them why not.
I got as much of a chance of hitting the lottery as getting a WWF guest on here.
It's about lottery odds. Actually, I'm involved in a whole bunch of other projects right now. One with a competing radio station, which is on FM here in New York, and one with a television program called On Cue Magazine, which should be hopefully going into syndication sometime this fall. And as a matter of fact, I'll break it here on this show. I am going to get involved with the wrestling organization in this country during this year, and after the break, I'll let you, John Arezzi, speak to the guy that's going to be involved in it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's one big joke. I'm a doink.
No, you're not a doink. That's pretty big news.
I'll let you know. In fact, he'll answer all your questions. As a matter of fact, I'm going to write down the guy's number right now, and your producer Tom here can call him up, and you can let him find out all you want to know about this wrestling organization.
All right.
I will be involved in
Saying that,
this
we
year,
got a scoop here
1900
tonight.
and 1993. Yes, I will be involved in a wrestling organization. It won't be World Championship Wrestling.
And it won't be the WWF?
And it will not be the WWF.
I just want to let you know that you're my favorite, and I like you very much.
I'm my favorite too, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Sarah, thanks for your call.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
I didn't know that there were any girls named Sarah in Brooklyn. I thought they're all named Maria.
Maria. What else?
That's it.
There are a lot of Marias, right?
Everybody's named Maria. Maria and Vinny.
A lot of Vinnies. I don't like that name at all.
You don't?
No.
Why not, John?
Because there are just a couple of Vinnies that have irked me over the last few years.
Irk them back?
Vinces, Vinnies, whatever.
Irk them back?
I am, by being on the air, murking them. So that's the best payback of all, isn't it?
Living well's the best revenge.
That's exactly right.
But then again, a poke in the eye sometimes really feels good.
We're going to take another break here. We're going to talk.
I certainly need one.
You know,
Dave, are you still there?
I'm here.
Wow.
Wow.
He's on a double espresso tonight.
Yes. I had a few. As a matter of fact, I met a beautiful Spanish singer tonight named Christina. I had a dinner with my attorney, Ron Scola, who you met.
Yeah.
She was going to be acting as an interpreter for us this weekend because I forgot how to speak English. But I met this girl. She was a beautiful blonde girl. She was going to be at Jacob Javits Center singing tonight at a big party at WNW, another radio station.
Could I ask you a very pertinent question?
Go right ahead.
What the hell does that have to do with anything?
I don't know, but she just was embedded.
Even Dave Meltzer wants to know what the hell that has to do with anything.
She left a lasting impression on me. She was very, very voluptuous.
Boy, you are hard up for a date. I mean, you even got to plug people dancing at the Jacob Javits Center.
I need a date. Let's talk about LNS Comics, okay? And their special sale going on right now. The limited edition Amy Fisher comic book.
Oh, no. It sounds like a bad dream.
It should be, but one side of the book is Amy Fisher, her true story, her real story. The other side of the comic book is the Joey Buttafuoco side.
Hey, Joey!
Now
I went double dating with him last week.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
They have a limited edition of 5,000 copies. They come bagged with 3 trading cards and a centerfold pinup of Amy.
And a coupon for when she gets out of jail.
That's right. The 3 trading cards of Joey Buttafuoco, Amy Fisher, and Mary Jo. The price is just $5, $1.50 postage and handling. They will ship anywhere in the United States. Call them at this number to get your copy, 516-489-9636. Or you could stop in and visit LNS Comics at 1379 Jerusalem Avenue in North Merrick. Take Southern State Parkway to exit 24 North. make your first left direct to LNS Comics. And right now, LNS also has in
David Koresh comics.
That'll be out in a few weeks. But they have the comics of Amy Fisher. Also, all the new WWF Hasbro figures, including the new Hulk Hogan, the new Randy Savage, the model Rick Martel. So stop in at LNS. And they have a special going on right now with other Hasbro dolls in stock. Three
The
Hasbros.
new Hulk Hogan doll they have.
For with the black eye. 3 Hasbros for just $10 at a special selection. LNS Comics, your wrestling source.
And home of the Amy Fisher comic.
Home of the Amy Fisher comic. We are going to take a quick break and tell you about our 900
comic,
number.
You know? Did you buy that, the Mary Jo Buttafuoco
No, I
comic?
did not.
Has a big hole on the side of the top.
Oh, boy.
Bada bing, huh?
Bad. Tom, I'll tell you what. Take it away. We'll be back with Paulie Dangerously and your calls and comics. And also the special guest we bring on.
Are you okay?
I got Amy Fisher on the mind. We'll be back right after this.
This is Cactus Jack with a reminder. Listen to the Pro Wrestling Spotlight, and each week, if you don't, elbows may have to be dropped.
That shit's gold there.
It's just insanity.
Yeah.
It's insanity. Amy Fisher Comics.
Yeah, we won't dig in on the Amy Fisher comic because we talked about it a bunch last week and everything. But I did like, as soon as you said the Amy Fisher comic, you hear Dave Meltzer go, "Oh no!" Very good.
That girl Sarah who called, doesn't she call back?
No, you're thinking of Chrissy, and yes, I have both of those.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the Sarah call, but it was actually the Chrissy call.
The Chrissy call, because it's actually kind of funny that earlier Paul does a Jim Ross impression.
Yeah,
for a split second, because he does impression for Chrissy as well. So, but yeah, that was just a lot of fun. It was hard not to clip that because it's just so funny. You guys are just going ballistic, and like Joe said, at a certain point, you're just like, this thing's off the rails, and you're just like, please just let me get through this show. Like, I'm paying for the time, and those are those moments where it's all like, yeah, but if I end the ad, we can keep doing other stuff.
That was just so spontaneous and so cool to hear back. That was so. I mean, that's really a belly laugh listening to that segment.
So good. Right after that, you do actually get Jim Hudson on the line, who is the guy that Paul wrote down the phone number for you guys to talk about what he's got going on. I believe I left in the entire interview here because I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
Although not as hilarious. Except there's a moment where Paul's goofing off with the buttons, and it's kind of funny. But
Jim Hudson, that's his name.
Yeah. And I've looked up as much as I can, and I cannot find information about a Jim Hudson at all. Like,
interesting.
Yeah, I was digging around trying to see. I was looking up like Jim Hudson Wrestling. I tried spelling it different ways. I tried thinking of different companies he could have been involved with just to find his name, and nothing I'm finding has his name attached to it. So it's
Does
really
he
bizarre.
Does he mention the name of the promotion on the phone? No.
Just that it's going to be in HD.
Wrestling News Network. Why does that ring a bell to me?
That's what Jim Crockett Jr. did when he came back.
Okay.
He was a part of that with Paul Lee, which would make sense because that happened in '94. But
this might be the beginning of that, perhaps.
I think there's a really good chance he has something to do, just given the conversation, which we'll hear in just a second. He probably had a lot more to do with the TV of it than the wrestling show.
Than the actual promotion and the booking. This was more of a TV guy who was like touting HD. All right, let's get to that.
Okay, check out this Doink the Clown music. Almost like Doink the Clown, right?
Isn't that the thing that your girlfriend, the Spanish girl with the long blonde hair, is singing at the Jacob Javits Center? Take line 1. Ready?
No, I want to talk to you. We have somebody on hold now.
Oh.
Dave, are you there? Dave is on hold. Let's keep Dave on hold for just a minute because, Paulie, during the break, this is a legitimate news story that we're going to break here.
Yeah.
You're going to get involved with another wrestling organization, and I'm going to bring on right now Mr. Jim Hudson.
Yeah.
Jim, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Jim, I've never had the opportunity to speak with you, but I understand that Paulie just told us an interesting story about. You just cut off my mic there, Paul. But an interesting, possible big news story about you, sir, getting involved with a wrestling promotion, and Paulie, you would be involved with this promotion as well.
Yeah.
Jim, can you talk to us a little bit about it?
Yes, sir. I grew up in the Panhandle of Texas a long time ago, and as TV station licenses were given, generally one of the first things that happened was that they went out and put on a local professional wrestling show. And in fact, Ted Turner built his network using professional wrestling.
Yes, he did.
Today, as I see the world, the new TV stations of today are going to be high-definition stations.
HD TV.
Yes, sir.
That's state-of-the-art, primo viewing.
Yeah, the Japanese have spent about $6 billion perfecting the television. I've been involved the past 6 years in international television programming. In fact, we have programs that run in over 30 countries today. So we're going to start shooting professional wrestling in high definition.
Wow.
We feel like that it'll be maybe 5-10 years before high D is in the U.S. to a great extent, but overseas, because governments mainly control the TV, and you only have like 1 to 2 stations per country, they will move into high definition just as the Japanese have their own high definition channels now. So we're basically we're doing something new, but we're using the old. Instead of pay-per-views, we'll go to different countries 4 times a year.
Wow.
And the people who are doing the shooting probably have the longest track record in this country in high D. They did a 14-hour movie for the Canadian Broadcasting Network in the mid-'80s. They've won 2 Emmys and for CBS Sports. I think it's going to be real exciting.
Well, it sounds that way. When is this all going to take place? 'Cause we're all salivating now.
First shooting's in June.
The first shooting is in June.
And we're not talking about Waco.
Okay. Pretty. Are you? Do you live in Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We also have been hearing a lot of rumors. I get a lot of calls, and the folks who cover the wrestling business on the inside level, the journalists who cover this business, have heard the name of Mr. Jim Crockett banted around over the last few months, possibly getting involved in a promotion. Would Jim Crockett be involved in this promotion?
Jimmy is a very close friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
He is under contract to Ted Turner, WTBS, until November. Today literally is the grand opening of his ice cream store in Dallas. His energy and force is making ice cream. Anytime he wants to come see any of our matches or help us out, we'd be glad to have him, and hopefully after November he can tear away from the ice cream store and become involved.
Okay, and Paulie, what is your connection with all of this?
I'm there all the way, 100%. All my energies when it comes to the wrestling industry will be focused on this project, except for doing your show every now and then.
Well, I'd appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jim, would you guys be giving us like wrestling guests from time to time? Is that possible? Paulie, can you see to that?
Sure.
Because we don't get along with too many promotions these days.
Oh, no, we'll like you.
Well, that's great news. That really is great news, and it's exciting for everybody out there, and it's exciting for me, and I appreciate you being able to come here and break the news here.
You're welcome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Jim, I appreciate you coming on the air with us.
Oh, very much.
Do you want to hang out and listen to the rest of the program and see what type of antics
I would
we're
love
gonna get into
to.
here?
And
Hey, Jim, we called you, so it's not on your dime, so just hang out, you know?
love to, and I'd also like to see what Dave thinks about all this.
Yeah, we're going to put you on...
Since Turner's the guru of television worldwide.
Uh-huh. Okay, we'll put you on hold. We can't conference you both because you're both on our
I
hotlines.
understand.
But we'll put you on hold, and we'll bring Dave Meltzer back on, and we'll discuss this very important breaking news story in the business.
Okay.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hang in there and listen to the show. And
all right.
Dave, we'll bring Dave back now. Dave, are you there?
I'm here.
That's pretty big news.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot of groundwork that has to be done, but yeah, it's pretty big news. I think it's going to wind up being pretty big news.
I think so. HDTV and all of that.
That is really interesting to listen back to, and because obviously it's the Crockett deal.
It's got to be, yeah.
And Paul, he's putting all his energies into it. Meanwhile, he's going to be helping his friend A. Gilbert out at ECW. He's going on my tour, and he's he's rooting around and he comes on my tour and he's like, Public Enemy gets put together there in Southeast Asia, and he's talking to Conan, and he's maneuvering on my tour. So Paulie's a master of everything. I wonder if, I'm thinking out loud, I wonder if he saw the opportunity at ECW to get involved, and with Eddie having his personal demons and, that long relationship went south, and then Paulie took over the book there. So this was a very intriguing development with Hudson, because Paulie talked to me a lot about how he was going to be working with Jimmy Crockett.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. Only Paul would know, but that would be wonderful to get his side of it. But fascinating stuff that led to him going to ECW, and this really not ever coming about and taking place really on a large scale.
Not on a large scale. It was around from 93 to 94.
Yeah.
They had, let's see, there was a couple of shows that they did. The first event was in Texas in 93 of August. Following year.
What names? What big names? Any big names on there that you could decipher? Or
maybe. Let me see. It said it's held its first televised event a year later in the Manhattan Center in 94 that had Hawk and Jake Roberts.
Yeah, so
as well as Public Enemy, Sabu, Terry Funk, Shane Douglas, and Missy Hyatt.
Wow. So there's like the Paulie connection there. Yeah.
Yep. Refused via the internet. Oh, okay. This one snippet here says both Crockett and Heyman had hoped to provide a unique concept of producing televised matches in high definition via internet broadcast, using much of ECW's television production and other resources to do so. It's one of the reasons Eddie Gilbert resigned his position as head booker and left the promotion in 93. However, the event was the only HGTV televised taping broadcast, and eventually Crockett closed the promotion by the end of the year. So they had 2 events.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And Paul Heyman had his foot in both camps. You even ask him, or a caller asks him directly about that, about having his foot in ECW, and that's coming up in just a little bit too. So, yeah.
Okay.
After that, you did talk to Paulie, and you mentioned you asked him about the Bill Watts stuff and how the lawsuit all came around and stuff, and he said that he came to an agreement that it's over. And you said, so it's all worked out for the best. And he goes, well, it's worked out, but not for the better. And he goes, it worked out because I had the lawyers that made it work. And he's like, but, ultimately his reputation was intact after that. So,
yeah. Paulie was very grateful to me for hooking him up with a good lawyer.
Yeah.
I don't know if he used the same one for this one or the other lawsuit, because he had several. But he used this guy, Bruce Smith, that I introduced him to. I don't know if he did it on this particular one. Who knows? But anyway.
Yeah.
That
was cool. And then Chrissy calls in. The call goes a certain way. She calls back 9 callers later. I've combined it into one clip.
Okay.
With the fast forward in between so you can tell.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Good.
Number to call, 212-477-5611.
Take a call.
What line should we take?
Take 2.
Okay.
Who are you? What do you want?
Hello, you're next.
Hi.
Hi.
It's Sarah again from Brooklyn. She
No,
knows
it's
my
not.
phone.
It's Chrissy.
Chrissy, where are you calling from?
Brooklyn.
I see. You got a lot of calls from Brooklyn. You must be going into a lot of bowling alleys tonight. What is it, Christy?
Chrissy, not Christy.
Oh, doesn't matter.
What can we do for you?
I called a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, it was you?
Yeah. Well, a while ago, and I was asking about Rowdy Piper.
Yeah.
If he was ever come back to the WWF.
He's here tonight.
No, he's not.
You want to talk to Roddy? Hold on. Roddy!
Roddy, come on in for a second.
Roddy! Come on in. Hello! How are you? You know, I was just talking about you, Chrissy, tonight. I heard you're going down into the bowling alley. What's going on, baby? How you doing?
Come on, don't do that.
You know, wrestling's just like bowling, man. You know, in order to make your strikes, you gotta risk your balls. You know what I'm saying?
So there you go.
That's not him. Don't do this to me. I'm in love with this guy.
Are you really in love with him?
I love him.
With me or with Roddy Piper?
What?
With me or with Roddy
No,
Piper?
she's saying Roddy.
You in love with Roddy Piper?
Yes, I
But
am.
you're not in love with me? You're not in love with
I
me?
love you too.
But not as much as Roddy Piper.
No, I'm sorry.
Next call. Hello, you're on the air.
Hi, you're next. Hi, you're next. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, who's this?
This is Chrissy again.
How did you get through again? How did you get through?
Chrissy, what? Come on, we're running out of time, Chrissy.
Can you just please tell me, if he's coming back to
Dave,
WWF?
I'm gonna relay that to Dave Meltzer. Dave, do you think he'll be back in the WWF?
You never say never. I don't think he's coming back anytime soon because he's pretty much devoting all his energies into being an actor right now. I think he's in Mexico doing a movie right now.
Okay, he's in Mexico doing a movie?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, that's Roddy Piper. Okay, Chrissy, that's for you. And who's next? Hello?
Got that answer good. I had to turn it over to Dave.
Well, she's going to keep calling.
Right. She's in love.
So I have no idea.
She was so giggly, too. It's Chrissy. Hee.
I can't believe she got through a second time.
Yeah, I thought that was great. How'd you get through again? It was awesome. Mike from Duxbury calls in. Apparently, he lives very close to Paulie. Just wants to know if Brett's going to turn heel after an off-color remark. Scott from Staten Island says, Mike Pellegrino says hi. And is bringing in JR away to try to get Sting over to WWF. And Paul says yes because he's blonde. Let's see. They talk about the Hogan thing. And then we get to Eric from Brooklyn. This is where he asks about ECW.
Go to this line here. Hello, you're next.
Hi, I'm Eric from Brooklyn.
Eric Ben?
Yeah, how'd you know, man?
Tony Eric I know from Brooklyn.
Oh, Paulie.
Eric Ben.
Yo, what's up, Eric? What's going on, huh?
Yo, congratulations on that comeback you made in ECW managing down there.
What's going on? ECW. What's going on with ECW?
I did a favor for Eddie Gilbert, and I busted a couple people over the head with the phone.
That's not going to be an ongoing deal for you?
I mean, they're doing TV May 14th and 15th, so I'll be down there for that.
Hey, Paulie.
Yeah.
Oh, yo, don't make fun of me because I'm Brooklyn, but anyway.
Hey, okay. No problem, okay? Copacetic, yeah.
Hey, I applaud you for having more integrity, unlike Jim Ross from going to WWF. You know what I mean?
No, I don't. Explain.
Okay. You're so much of a better commentator than Jim Ross, you know what I mean? And
Well, that I understand. Go on.
Well, then Jim Ross went to WWF, appeared in a toga or something you would never do because you got more integrity than that.
You're right. I would never appear in a toga. I'd stand there naked.
But anyway, Paulie.
Yeah.
I have a question. You still annoyed not being on the Howard Stern show?
He no quijones.
He had his chance, right?
Howard, he'll have on Cactus Jack. He'll have on Rick Rude. He'll have on Fred the Elephant Boy. But Howard Stern...
You're better than Fred the Elephant Boy.
Oh, thank you very much.
Hey, Fred's on a big date this weekend.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Yay. That's
Eric.
good for Fred.
Eric,
we're tired of talking to you, so we're going to go to an interesting call.
Thanks for your call, Eric. We got to take our last commercial break of the day.
That was hilarious, too.
He was
Eric
just...
Ben.
Yeah, do you remember him?
Yeah. The name.
Yeah.
Ben. Yeah, I think he was a Booster Club member or whatever. I mean, but yeah, that name was just popped into my head and I was right.
That's so funny because that comes up again, too. But Paul is just doing voices left and right this whole time. With all the appearances he's done on your show, he didn't do a ton of voices or impressions or anything, but he went all in on that Piper. He was going in on this guy from Brooklyn.
Yep. Yeah, he did. It was a very entertaining segment for sure.
He had the Piper joke down too. The bowling joke. I mean, that is a Piper joke.
It was so quick.
Yeah. That was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was good. Do you remember him doing impressions very often or very much at all?
He did them occasionally, when he would come on, not like as much as he's doing tonight, but he's certainly done impressions.
Do you have a favorite memory of Paul impressions?
Not really.
All right.
No. I guess when he tried to imitate my sister, that was a pretty good one.
That was not bad. Yeah. You do in that last commercial break, you talk about a Tommy D show, which you're just putting over Universal Wrestling Superstars, and then Paul says, "Is that Tommy D?" And you're like, "Yeah." Like you didn't want to even say it was a Tommy D show. You're so annoyed at Tommy. And you mentioned that Convicts is going to be on there. He goes, "Who's Convicts?" And you're like, "That's Nails." And he goes, "Oh, I talked to Alex Malvez, and there's going to be a lot of convicts in wrestling soon, so that might not work." You have Paulie read a spot about used cars, which goes well. And the paints you have him do again. Alex from Manhattan calls in specifically to ask Dave Meltzer because he heard a rumor that Macho Man gave Hogan the black eye because Savage introduced Elizabeth to the man she's currently dating. Dave says he doesn't believe it for a second because he thinks more people will be talking about it if it were. That he's hearing a lot of not punched rumors that you would definitely know if it was Macho.
Right. That was a big... there was a lot of speculation on how Hogan got his black eye.
Yeah. Yeah. That brings us to the last clip we have, which is Jared from Brooklyn, immediately followed by Keith from Ridgewood, which I thought these two calls kind of paired well together.
Hello, you're next.
Hello?
Whoa, hello, yeah.
Yo, man, it's Jared from Brooklyn.
Who's this?
Jared from Brooklyn, remember me?
No.
Oh, you probably forgot me. I want to ask
Good,
you a
then we
question.
don't remember you anyway. Yeah,
Oh,
you're
man,
next.
that's not nice, Paulie. These are my fans.
Not for too
They
much
respect
longer.
what I do.
He
Hi, you're
goes,
next.
Yo, I'm Jared from Brooklyn, remember me? Yo, you don't remember me?
212-477-5610 is the number.
Your mother remembers me. Don't you know who's
Oy
the by now?
vey.
Oy, an Italian says oy vey.
That's right.
Mamma mia.
Hello, you're next.
Hi, this is Keith from Ridgewood.
Keith Barbero?
Yes, how you doing?
You know everybody's last name.
Yeah, I haven't seen an angle as horrifying since probably Snooker took the 2 power drivers from Snooker, from Stevens and
From Ray
Albano.
Stevens, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
82. I don't think I've ever seen anything just as horrifying. You know, I think everyone, I got like 10 phone calls tonight, and a lot of people are concerned about Cactus.
We all are. And, Keith, I want to thank you for that point, and I want to thank you for bringing it up. I want to give you the address right now. Before I forget, if you want to send Cactus Jack a get well card, now this is getting serious again for just a second, write to Cactus Jack, care of Pro Wrestling Spotlight. And the address is 136 North Carl Avenue, Carll Avenue, suite number 125, Babylon, New York. Zip code is 11702. Send your cards and letters to us, and we will get them to Cactus. That's
Bang,
a promise.
bang.
That's a promise. And that's a bang bang for Cactus in
Bang,
tribute to him. Okay, let's put up another call.
Got a big response. I do remember that.
Was that the location of the morning show?
No, it was actually it opened up it was kind of like one of these mail centers where you get your mail. It wasn't the actual post office, but it was kind of this. It was almost like a UPS store.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I thought it was a little interesting. And it actually is funny because immediately after that is when Chrissy calls back. Let's go back to the calls, and then it's Chrissy. You're like, how did you...
How'd you get back on?
Yeah, but I thought it was funny because Jared calls and goes, this is right after Eric calls, and you know his last name immediately. Jared goes, hey, don't you remember me? And you go, no. But then the next caller, you immediately know his last name too.
Keith Barbero. Ridgewood. Because he says Keith from Ridgewood. I mean, that's kind of where I grew up, and that's how I knew him, his name.
Yeah.
That's how it stuck in my head. But anyway, great one. I mean, that's the last clip, right?
It's the last clip, and the only other thing really, after except for an observer plug, is that Chemo from Manhattan calls and asks if Flair doesn't start wrestling, if they're going to put Arn as the champion.
Yeah.
And then Paul goes on a long rant on that he will advise WCW for free for 30 days and teach them how to get over in the New York market.
Well, they can always go to patreon.com/John Arezzi for $5. You can hear the whole damn thing, as well as 200 other freaking shows.
Well worth it. Ridiculous.
All right, Joseph, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to ask one question, Jack. It's a really important question. It didn't come up with the clips tonight, but did you not make any money off the 1-900 numbers?
It was minimal.
Yeah, because you don't plug them at all.
$400 a month, maybe. Back then, it was probably that. It wasn't anything that could break the bank, you know.
They're in the commercials, but you never say anything about them during the show. So I thought, I wonder how much.
It was what it was. Let's put it that way. And it wasn't. It was a time-consuming endeavor that wasn't a good payoff.
You should have done.
At least I enjoyed this, even though there's no payoff here either.
Right.
I at least enjoy looking back at the history, and that maybe will motivate more people to join our Patreon.
Well,
hey, listen, we need to pay Marsh. We need to upgrade things that we want to do. We want to do more shorts on YouTube, and this guy's working like a dog on this show. And, our Patreon money really only does cover what we need to pay Marsh. I'd love to pay him more. And to distribute the show. There's a distribution fee through Megaphone that you got to pay every month. So it's break even. It's a break even proposition. And we'd love to do more exciting things creatively, visually, but we don't have the resources to do that.
No.
In a different way from 30 years ago, but kind of the same.
Yeah.
Well, it's growing on YouTube, and hopefully from there it continues to grow with the Patreon. And
monetize it. If we could get to a monetization mode in YouTube, that would certainly help us. But at least the show's not going away, because like at EVD, I had to pay him over $1,000 a week to be there.
Yeah.
So we don't, for what we pay on this, just to distribute it, it's minimal on a monthly basis, really.
Yeah. And we are really close to monetizing on YouTube too. So if everyone who's listening just gets 1 or 2 more people to watch on YouTube.
Subscribe. Damn. Just subscribe. And what you could do too, to help us out is like go to Apple and give it a 5-star review. Write some reviews about it. Let your friends know about it. If you're into this classic wrestling history that really no one is doing like what we do, it's just sharing it. That's what social media is. And we do have some people that are really doing a good job sharing it that I don't even ask for on Twitter, like this day WWE. That guy is really helping us out.
Yeah, he's great.
And our Instagram, there are people, but it's like when it comes to the Patreon for $5, a cup of coffee, really, it's like, we appreciate everybody that participates, but, we're still, we still have really, in comparison to others, we don't have a big Patreon following.
And what you offer is just ridiculous. I know I continue to come back to that, but the archives, for me, it's you go to Peacock, and I know what that costs, and you come here. Those are the 2 places for wrestling history, and the wrestling history you offer, with the photos and the interviews, and you cannot get it anyplace else. It's just, but you have to get the word out. We have to get the word out to people so they know, because once you do, you're hooked. That's what happened with me, no doubt.
Yeah, when people discover what we do, they love it, and how did I find this? And I hear that, I hear that from people. It's like, this is wonderful. No one has this stuff. Yeah.
Just tonight with Paul Lee.
I'm right. That's worth the price of a monthly Patreon, $5 right there, to hear that whole show over and over and be able to listen to it whenever you want.
All right.
Yeah, and think about it too. Like if Paul Lee had these tapes, he wouldn't be putting them out there every week. You know what I mean?
No, who would?
Yeah.
Like who would really? Even Mick. He was not happy with the way he sounded during most of his appearances because he was still developing that character.
Right.
So, and he used the show to increase his muscle memory, as he says over and over again. Because I gave him every opportunity, and he was on anytime he wanted to be, and he would come on when I asked him to. But as we get closer, and there's so much gold left in the history of this. There's just a lot that people are going to say, "Holy shit!" when they hear it.
Oh yeah,
and they'll hear clips, but they won't hear the whole thing unless they get to Patreon.
And that is where honestly, that's where the value's at. I love tuning in to watch this, and I love, when I don't have all that time, but you go back during the week and from the Patreon side of it, just the photos and the actual commercials and the things that take you back to that time. If you like the 30 years ago wrestling, but to go back and just live that, and it's ridiculous that more people don't. And I know I sound, pissy about that, but we just got to get the word out there, because once they get introduced to it, it's addictive.
Less than 10% of our listeners are patrons. So, which is, I guess when you look at the big picture, they say that even with direct mail years ago, if you got 1%, that would be a success. But, these are fans that love the history, and the people who listen to the show. And if it's not up on time, hear it.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I accidentally put like the same show on twice in the Patreon last Sunday, and someone immediately caught it. It's like, John, it's the same show. You got it up there twice. So I had to quick that out. But yeah, but people, if it's not there and they get the weekly fix, and people love Sundays.
Yes.
When Sundays at 6 o'clock Central, 7 o'clock Eastern happen, when the 5 or 6 new posts that I put up every week are there and live, people dig it.
Yeah.
One piece of advice: you got to stop having old men with mustaches on and have hot women. I mean, I think that'll sell it.
Marsh can help us with that.
Here you go, Marsh. Come on.
Yeah, we just have to start booking them.
Yeah,
yep.
you got to do.
And we could always bring on some virtual hot women, like, you know, the AI revolution is taking over, and there are lots of chat bots out there. Maybe we can convince a couple of those to come on.
We're gonna make a mistake and get like that cat filter. If you saw that, it was going around for a while in 2020, where the lawyer was all like, "I'm not a cat, I assure you."
I'm just not a cat. Yeah.
But
unless it's John's video of the cat, I'm still very intrigued.
The Dana life of a cat. Yeah.
Yes. I'll tell you, I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's a great time.
We'll talk more love.
Yeah.
We'll talk more like dating and love and bringing hot women on the next time you're here, Joe.
Well, I just I do. I appreciate it. I think what you're doing is great, just for the history. But yeah, Marsh, I love the show now. You guys are doing a great job.
People are digging it, and I appreciate you, Joe. And I want you to have a safe trip to the NFL draft, which is a big deal.
A lot of fun. This is year 23, 24 for us. It's going to be a great time. We're looking.
Yeah, well, enjoy yourself, and if you do make it out to 80s WrestleCon, I look forward to meeting you.
I'm certainly going to give it my best. So,
all right.
Thanks again, guys.
All right, thanks,
Thank
Joseph.
you, man.
Good to see you. All right, Joseph Holloway, and one of our Patreon executive producers, and Marsh. Another good episode. Thank you, my friend.
This was a fun one. This was one I was laughing a lot. There was even moments like, even when Jim made that one comment, I was just sitting here alone in the room, but in the other room is where my fiance works, and I just go like, "Oh my God." She's like, "What?" And I was like, you won't believe what this dude just said 30 years ago. Like, and it's funny too that you guys all reacted. Oh,
good stuff. A really good one. Good one.
Yeah.
Happy. All right. Well, listen, my friend, it's good to see you as always. And I will be speaking to you very, very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. That'll wrap up this edition of John Arezzi's Pro Wrestling Spotlight. You could join our private group at facebook.com/Pro Wrestling Spotlight podcast and radio show. We have public group there as well under John Arezzi's Matt Memories. There's a private group as well. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out our videos there. It's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Spotlight. Twitter, I'm at John Arezzi. Instagram at John Arezzi as well. And if you're coming to Jersey, I'll have my book there. So, or if you want to buy one via the mail, just send me an email at john@mattmemories.com and I'll sign one for you happily. And don't forget to check out the sister podcast, Matt Memories from Madison Square Garden, covering the shows I covered from the Mecca of all arenas 50 years ago. Matt Memories from Madison Square Garden, co-hosted by Tim Poutre, written and researched by Richie Garcia. And once again, thank you to our producer and creative director, Marsh, doing such a fabulous job. Thanks to Patreon executive producers Anthony Pyrus and Joe Holloway, and for all the patrons for your support helping with the production costs for this show. Until next week, when we relive more history with you, this is John Arezzi for the Pro Wrestling Spotlight.